Hi, welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph Demetrius, one of the calendar's astrologers. This is part of our music series. This is Paul McCartney. This was one of the final in the series. We're doing these shorter versions to highlight specific things about musicians' charts. Paul was born on June 18th, 1942 at 2 p.m. in Liverpool, England. He's born with the sun at 26 degrees Gemini. The rising is at 25 degrees Virgo, so almost exactly square that rising. His moon is at 17 degrees Leo in the 12th house. So that moon in Leo is part of what that performance is about. He also has Mars and Pluto in Leo. And the Mars-Pluto conjunction, we just pointed this out recently in a recent forecast, it really empowers. It's a very empowered position. Sting has the same position, Mars conjunct Pluto. It gives people tremendous physical energy, and it's in a fire sign. Okay? The Virgo rising is a bit of a mystery. Virgo rising is, working man-like. But, if you think about it, his approach was very workmanlike. He poured out a lot of songs. And remember, it's Mercury ruled. It's a Mercury ruled rising. Composers, people who write, are Mercury ruled. He has the rising and Neptune conjunct the rising, so very imaginative, very good at picking up lots of information around himself, which is what Neptune at the rising does. Pink has that same position, I think. Neptune at the rising, they're very perceptive about the world around them, including unseen things. And then he has the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Uranus, all in Mercury-ruled signs. So this person, when he did the song, Silly Love Song, he really meant it. He understood about the creation of songs. And they say even many of the songs that he and John Lennon supposedly wrote together, many of those were his songs. But they had the agreement early on they would put their names on both of them. But he was just tremendously prolific. Why? He has Mercury in Gemini, retrograde, in the 10th house, the house of career, along with his Sun and his Saturn and his Uranus. So his desire to have a good career as a writer, as a performer, to really be out there was very important to them. Additionally, he has Uranus, a planet that oftentimes gives sizzle to a chart, conjunct his Saturn. So he, in pursuing his career, he brought a lot of energy, a lot of sizzle, a lot of brightness to it. Mercury is in Gemini, the ruling position, but it's retrograde, which means he internalizes it. He internalizes that. And then the Sun conjunct the midheaven, 23 degrees to 26 degrees in Gemini. So it's a very career-based position. Interestingly, he has Jupiter in Cancer in the 11th house. The 11th house is about where we earn money. Jupiter's about travel. Cancer loves to gather it in. He's a tremendously wealthy person. The sale of his catalog was worth millions upon millions. I mean, his catalog is just, I think he bought his catalog back with another group of songs. In publishing, he has made a huge amounts of money. Jupiter in Cancer is the exalted position. It's interesting because it also means that among his friends, he was very generous and very nurturing, which of course is a nice thing to have, but also endears him to people. But it's not the only thing that endears him to people, because close to his rising at 12 degrees, just above the horizon, in what's called the Gogolon spot, he has Selena. We've seen this in other musicians. I think Norah Jones has it as well. It makes the person very charming. It makes them very likable. When they appear upon the scene, people just feel like, oh, who's arrived? We can just feel the energy in the room has changed. This is something he has in Virgo, so it doesn't carry a big agenda. Virgo doesn't have its own agenda. It's all about service to the group, but it's personal service. Virgo is, it comes in at the harvest time. It's all about service to the group. It's about participation. The thing about Virgos, they like being around people who they can work with. But he has Selena at the rising, conjunct the North Node. So this willingness to work on things, this willingness to work on basic things with other people really gave him a lot of satisfaction. What's really funny about this chart is partnership. You would think being part of the Beatles was essential to him, his success. And you would think that he'd have a really busy seventh house. He doesn't. He has the south node there in Pisces. He has the vertex, so maybe it was fated. Vertex is a fate point. And he has Ceres there, which is about being a shepherd. So he's very good about shepherding a group. But it wasn't his focus. Much more of his chart is to the eastern side. Now, admittedly, you have Venus in Taurus, a rulership position. Venus in Taurus, the sign of the throat, of the voice, in the ninth house, trine, loosely, that ascendant in that Neptune. So, being an artist out in the world, being a musician out in the world came very naturally to him. He has a natural love of music. That Venus in Taurus is a natural love of music, natural talent. It's not, refined talent. But when you look at the chart, what you really see is the Mars, the Pluto, the moon in the 12th house, put him on a stage, put him in a studio, and he really can shine. The strong Gemini, a tremendous writer. Virgo Rising, this great personal charm with Selena there, the love of working on stuff. He likes to work on it. And then what's interesting, the part of fortune in Scorpio in the third house is the house of writing. Scorpio, controlling and managing. Juno there, the management of resources. His ability to manage his writing resources is where his fortune was found. It's a very interesting chart, Paul McCartney, and someone who's had tremendous longevity, which is not surprising with Saturn in Gemini in the 10th house. So that's the portrait for this week. Come back and see us on Tuesdays. That's when we do these portraits. Come back on Fridays and you'll see our forecast for the coming week. You find those all at Planetary Calendar Astrology on YouTube. And then you can come to planetarycalendar.com to get your planetary calendar. You can use them with the forecast, especially if you subscribe and you put that little bell to get reminded, because that way you will know what's going on. Until next time, be well.